Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms. And you guys know I'm working on this antique hay wagon, and after I restore this, I'm planning to move on to the Model A. So I have a lot of rust and old paint to deal with. Now, I've been planning to do that with, wire wheels and flap disc sanders and whatever works the best, right? Got a couple comments on a previous video said, why don't you get a sandblaster? And I've used sandblasting cabinets, but never a little portable unit. And I thought, well, that's probably too expensive or too complicated, so I was going to just ignore that, and then I thought, well, what if it's not? So I looked it up, and Harbor Freight has the Central Pneumatic. They have 3 different media blasters that are really fairly affordable when you think about what it does and the fact it should last you a long time. So they have either an 80 or 100 pound one that cost about twice as much as this. At the time of recording, it was $160. This one was around $80 for the 20 pound version. Seems like they're exactly the same. The only difference is the size of the tank. It doesn't put out more pressure or anything else like that. It's just a bigger tank, which means you have to refill it less often. And then I had to buy a tub of this. This is glass bead, but you have to get some kind of blast media. And there's different options for that. They say don't use actual sand, but there are different things you can get to put in your sandblaster. So let's get this thing put together, see how well it works. We've got a hood here, because using any kind of a blaster, you're gonna need something, a face shield at a minimum, or a hood to keep the sand out of your eyes and out of your face. So this is, really cheap unit, and with any unit you're gonna have to replace these plexiglass shields, so hopefully they have those available. I don't know if I'll use that, but that's what comes with it. And we've got a funnel for putting the blast media in. Got some air hose, a bag of fittings, like legs for the tank, your actual tank, a lid for the tank, and another piece of air hose. These instructions seem to be pretty good, so I'm going to go through them quickly. You put thread tape on all your threads, and then you screw one of these into the tank, a ball valve onto that, another one of these, and then this piece right here, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it mixes the air and sand basically. And that's it for the bottom. I was actually thinking it didn't make sense to flip this over before putting the legs on. Realized there's 2 sets of instructions, one for the big tank, one for the little tank. So first thing you're supposed to do is put these legs on, and then you're supposed to assemble this the way I did. So these just slide on, and then there's a cotter pin. Okay, next we're taking a piece of straight pipe, 2 ball valves, and another one of their proprietary fittings. And then we've got an air inlet on the end, and we're screwing that into the top of the tank. Okay, so now we have one shut off on the horizontal and one on the vertical. Then we have a pressure relief valve that screws into the top of the tank on the back side. We got a lid that screws on the top. The next step of the instructions is to put the fittings in the bottom, which I showed at the beginning. Before you put the lid on, make sure you put this big rubber O-ring on, seal the top. So next we have this short hose here that screws in on the bottom right here. And the top of that hose connects right here, just below that vertical ball valve. Alright, next we attach our blaster hose right here, and then we just tighten that up with a hose clamp. So at the other end of the blasting hose, we've got another hose clamp and another ball valve. This is going to be where you actually do your work We just have to put the tip on. The tip is 3 pieces. You've got this piece right here, then your actual blasting nozzle that your blasting media comes through. Those come with different orifice sizes. That just slides in here, and then you have a kind of a gasket that goes on top of that blasting nozzle, and then this just screws on right here. Alright, time to open this thing up and put some blasting media in it. Oh, we've got one more thing it actually doesn't come with, is we have to put the fitting on right here for the air chuck so we can connect our air supply. I'll get that done, fill this up with media, and we'll see if this thing works. I think it would have been better to cut a hole in that lid. Really hard to get the lid off, and then it was a little too wide for the funnel, so I spilled some. And that stuff's not cheap, so I'd prefer not to spill it. I literally just used it and didn't have the camera on. It worked pretty well, but I'm gonna redo that. So I've done one strip right here. I'll do another strip right there, and just see how long it takes. Okay, one thing I think you would want to know from the instructions, it seems like it told me to open this valve fully, and the bottom valve fully, and then use this valve to control it. And that's not what I saw working at all. If you open that bottom valve fully, feels like you would empty your entire tank of sand in like 5 minutes. And it's unnecessary. So I felt like you want to open that bottom valve just enough to let enough sand come out to do the work. Now this I took down to bare metal, but it probably took me 5 minutes to make this. I mean, this is completely clean. This was quick. I did this in like a minute, but if you look at it, I mean, that's not, this is your bare metal. That still has a layer on it. Now, so I have a lot of area to cover here. Am I taking it all down to this, which would be perfect? It's maybe not necessary. If you've done a restoration like this before, how far down are you taking that? It's not a showpiece. I'm still going to use it. So I've got to give that some thought. This is as smooth as you would get if you were sanding it, and it's removed all the rust. I want to do this. I'm just thinking time-wise, and the amount of sand it would take, and the amount of mess it would take. Obviously, I'd have to do it outside, and I'd probably be spending a lot of money on this sand material, this filter media. So, a lot to think about, whether this is going to be cost-effective or not. But if you want a sandblaster, this was less than an hour of setup, cost $150 for the blaster and the media. Easy to use, works right out of the box. One caveat, some people who have smaller air compressors seem to have trouble getting enough, blasting pressure, I guess is the term. Mine is a 60-gallon DeWalt tank. Nothing industrial, but a nice one. I bought it at Lowe's for like $1,000 or $900, something like that. It puts out 15 CPF, cubic feet per minute, at 90 PSI. And I think I need to turn the PSI down a little bit, honestly. It's almost too much. But it's not having any problem. I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think I'm having any restrictions causing me problem. I think it's just a matter of how much time will it take to do this whole thing. So in my next video, I'm going to do a comparison between using the sandblaster and using my wire wheels and try to determine what's probably the most relevant for you. Is one of these worth it, or should you just wire wheel all this off? So that'll be in the next video, but I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.